Hi, Year 8. Today we're going to have a look at equations with pronumerals on both sides. So what we do here is if an equation has a pronumeral or a variable on both sides of the equal sign, what we do is we start with adding and subtracting. And we only add or subtract like terms until we have everything with a variable on one side of the equal sign and then everything without a variable, so all the constants, on the other side. And then we can times or divide as we need to. So we'll look at this with a few examples. Our first example, 4x minus 7 equals 2x minus 1. So you can see we have two things with a variable on either side. So the way of thinking about this would be if I said, I'm thinking of a number. When I multiply it by 4 and then I subtract 7 from that, it gives me the same answer as if I multiply it by 2 and subtract 1 from that. So, what we're going to do to solve this is we'll start by adding and subtracting. So I'm going to decide that I want everything with a variable to be on the left and everything without a variable to be on the right. But it doesn't matter whether you choose left or right. Okay, so I want letters on the left, which means this is on the wrong side. It's positive, so to get rid of it, I'm going to minus 2x. Now, because we can only add or subtract like terms, I'm writing it underneath the other term with an x, just so I know that that's where I'm going to be taking it away from. So now, 4x minus 2x is 2x, and then I still have this minus 7. Over the other side, the 2x is gone, and I'm left with minus 1. And now it just looks like one of the equations we've been dealing with so far. So, I want to get rid of this 7, it's a minus 7, so I'm going to plus 7 to both sides. Then the 7 is gone, so I'm left with just 2x equals negative 1 plus 7 is positive 6. I now need to divide both sides by 2, and I end up with x equals positive 3. If I wanted to check that, I would sub 3 back in as x to my original equation. Okay, next example. 6 minus 3y equals 10y plus 19. Now I've written this down twice because I'm going to solve it in two separate ways and I'll show you that it gives you the same answer. So over here, I'm going to decide that I want my letters on the left and my constants on the right. Doesn't matter which way. So if I want letters on the left, this 10y needs to move to the other side. It's positive, so I'm going to take away 10y from both sides. Now, I've still got this 6 here. Minus 3y, take away another 10y, is minus 13y. And then the 10y is gone, but I'm left with positive 19. Now I want to get rid of this 6, so I'm going to take away 6 from both sides. The 6 is gone, but I still have this minus 13y. The minus has to stay there because it sticks with the term that it is in front of. And then 19 minus 6 is 13. And now I can see that the number in front of y is negative 13, so I will divide both sides by negative 13 and end up with y equals 13 divided by 13 is 1, positive divided by a negative is a negative. So y is equal to negative 1. What I'm going to show you over here is if I do the exact same thing, but I decide that I want my variables to be on the right-hand side and my constants to be on the left. So if I want my variables on the right-hand side, that means I need to get rid of this minus 3y. And I do that by plussing 3y. So then 3y is gone. I still have this positive 6. 10 plus 3 is 13y plus 19. And then we can see that we need to subtract 19 from both sides. So I end up with negative 13 on the left equals positive 13y on the right. And you're probably seeing the similarities between these two ways of working out this equation. So then I need to divide by positive 13 because that's the number in front of y. And I end up with negative 1 equals y. And if you want to write it with your variable on the left, you can just swap those sides around. So you can see we're adding or subtracting terms with a variable until we have all the variables on the one side, all combined into one term. Okay, one final example. This one I'll show you in two different ways as well. Here we only have one thing on the right hand side, but it has a variable, so we're still using the same method. So for this one, I'm going to decide that I want my variables to be on the right, which means this 10m needs to be subtracted. So 10m is gone, I'm left with positive 14 equals 8 minus 10 is negative 2m, and then I divide by negative 2 to end up with negative 7 equals m, or m equals negative 7. If I did this the other way and I decided that I want my variables on the left, I would need to start by getting rid of this variable on the right. So I'm going to take away 8m from both sides. Now that means I've taken away everything that's on the right. So on the left I get 10 minus 8 is 2m plus 14, and then when I've taken away everything, that means I have a 0 on the right hand side. So now I want my constant terms on the other side. I'm going to take away 14, and I end up with 2m equals 0 minus 14 is negative 14. And then I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides to get m equals negative 7. So just be aware that if you decide that the variables are going to go on the left, you might end up with a 0 if there's nothing else on that side.